Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand, you ready? Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart. And I can't.
Well, I had, sorry for the delay in tonight's live stream. I forgot that I had a Christmas event to attend. And normally, when I have these things to attend, I pre record the episode and let it go live, but I forgot. And I didn't put it on my calendar. Ugh, so, yeah, next week I will do better because I had a board meeting the on Tuesday, and I that was a pre-recorded um, ep- episode of this 12 days of giveaway. But I'm going to do better. But thank you for those who are attending live and those who are going to watch this on the replay. My apologies, my sincere apologies. But thank you all for showing up. Anyway, let me turn this heat off. So, if you are a part of the giveaway and if you are someone who has been tuning in and say, I want some of those freebies, you can join the 12 days of giveaway. We have exactly 7 more days. And if you are going to join, you have to sign up before the Friday because that's when this page is going to close and it will no longer be available. So all you have to do is put your information in and hop on in a live stream, and you will receive a daily email from me discussing today's live, also with your freebie. And today's freebie, speaking of freebies, I am giving away my converting improper fractions. It's actually a STEM challenge. This is an activity that I actually created. It's called the Zebra Cake Challenge. I used to love zebra cakes. I had like this love affair with Little Debbie. But Little Debbie was not doing me any justice weight wise. So I had to give Little Debbie up. But I created this challenge years ago. I think it was like in 2017. And it was teaching my students, and this is actually a picture, teaching my students how to partition a whole into parts. So we talked about fractions greater than one whole, and guess what? They were able to eat the zebra cakes after they finished the challenge. So it has everything that you need. It's a whole lesson plan with objectives, materials, vocabulary. And this is one of my best sellers. See my little zebra? He's doing the split. And then I have in here, I have a challenge for students that are on grade level, and then I have a challenge for students who may be working below grade level. And yeah, have great products. Those are some of the other products I have in my store. So that was today's giveaway. So if you want to get that freebie, you have to get on the I lost my train of thought. You have to get on the email list to get the daily freebies, which we have 7 more days, and I am excited about giving these instructional resources to you all so that you can close those learning gaps and feel good about it. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into tonight's topic, and it is tonight because it's 8 p.m. here in Houston. So tonight's topic is about making fractions simple for students to understand. And fractions, they are an issue for not only children, but they are an issue for adults. They are. They're issues for adults. So what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and do this. When you are starting with fractions, I do not recommend that you start with fractions that are labeled. One of the reasons why you don't start with fractions that are labeled is because if you start with fractions that are labeled, I'm talking about like fraction tiles, it doesn't force the students to rely on their understanding of part to whole relationships. Now, in 3rd grade, you dive right off the cliff into fractions. And I always start with unit fractions. And for 3rd grade, you only start with fractions, I think it's halves, thirds, fourths, sixes, and eights. Real simple. So what I do is, and these are just conversations that you can have in small group, especially for older students who have not been proficient and need let's just bridge a gap. It don't have to be a strong bridge, but you need to connect these concepts together so they can understand. Even if students use a calculator in Algebra 1, they still need to understand fractions. They do. Because how are you going to understand what to put in the calculator if you don't understand fractions? So on these, I use unit fractions. Now, when you're starting out, this is always an issue. That 3/3, this is the same as 1 whole, that's constantly an issue for students. And what I do is I always remember, I talked on day 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch day 1. I was talking about labeling. So this is your denominator. And it tells you how many parts, excuse me, parts in all. So that's what your denominator. And your numerator, because these are terms that they may not know, can be the shaded or identified. And I add that for older kids because they generally are going to have harder word problems as it pertains. So the part that's identified or shaded. Now, when we talk about fractions, we start with unit fractions. Well, my students, I teach them that a unit means 1 out of the whole. So if we're talking about 1 out of the whole, what is the whole? The whole is our thirds. So if we're talking about 1 out of the whole, we're talking about 1/3. Okay? And 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I do not teach fractions, adding fractions with like denominators in isolation, because you can teach it here. And I'm going to show you that briefly. So we talk about 1/3. And then, say for instance, we change the colors. So remember, numerator says identified. So what fraction of the tiles are yellow? So the fraction of the tiles that are yellow are 1/3 and 1/3. How many do we have? 2/3. And this is why I don't teach it in isolation, because you can teach adding fractions with like denominators right here, because the students have to understand that these two together make up 2/3. And what we did not do is add the denominators. And as you move through the strand for fractions, they'll understand that if you add them, and you can ask them this question, what happens if we add the denominator? Well, 3 plus 3 equals 6. Well, can this be thirds? No, it can't be thirds, because the denominator tells us how many parts we have in all. So if that denominator changes to 6, then this is no longer thirds. And that's what we call reasonableness. Is it reasonable? All of those things. But closing gaps starts with understanding unit fractions. And I forgot to take out my fraction wheels. Now, some people start with linear models. I generally don't. I generally start with the good old fraction wheel, because circular models are a lot easier. These are some models I made. If you are on my YouTube channel, you can go look for this. I talk about equivalent fractions, and I use these as equivalent fractions. So start out with circular models. Older children should be able to grasp this concept and close gaps really quickly. So those are your unit fractions. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And then we're going to move on to fractions greater than 1 whole. So I'm going to still stick with a linear model, but notice that you can always use a circular model with this as well. So say for instance, I have 7/2. This is based on unit fraction 2. You can ask the student, what is the whole? We have halves. They are broken down into halves. So you have to label the units, because remember, I just said that 1 unit is 1 out of the whole. The whole is 2, half, so 1 out of 2 is unit. So I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to give me 6 halves. And I'm not going to leave that blank, but what I'm going to go back and do is circle. So what is 7/2 if we want to convert this to a mixed number? So this is 1 whole. This is 2. So this will be 3 1/2. And that's how you can get children to conceptualize this. When I taught this in 5th grade, I had students who could easily do this. Easily. Now, This going, and I'm going to use the same model. This says 3 1/2. So I'm going to draw 3 holes. And I'm just writing half on all of them. So if I have 3 1/2 and I'm converting it back to a fraction that is greater than one, God forbid I say improper fraction, because somebody's going to come on here and say, oh, well, it's a fraction greater than one. That's obvious. But they still refer to them as improper fractions, whether it's correct or not. So if we have 3 1/2, we have how many halves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3 1/2 is the same as 7 halves. And that's one of the ways that you can clear up misconceptions about mixed numbers and fractions greater than one or fractions that have larger denominators. This can help. Also, you can use a number bond to connect it all together. I have and keep going on, and you have 7 halves. And that's how you connect those things. And this is where, with this zebra cake challenge, where I am giving this for free, this is where the students apply this understanding about those fractions greater than one whole. So that's the issue. It clears up all of that. And I promise you, even if you don't get to equivalent fractions, if you start with this basic principle of unit fractions, it will be a lot easier. Even when you have to switch to, let me see, when you have to switch, I'm going to take this out. When you have to switch to this linear model, and I'm not going to lie, this is the bane of my existence. I teach my students to put the halfway point and always put 0 halves. Now I'm going to show you, I need to go to my Instagram account and show you, hold on. Show you a way I taught my students. Was it last year? Oh, got an extra thing in here. Okay, I'm going to pull this up so you can see what I'm talking about. See if I can get to it quickly without wasting time. Oh, here it is. Let me go down here and share my screen. So this is what I did for my students to teach them equivalent fractions. I did like a double number line. And if you're not teaching your students the linear model, you're missing out on a good opportunity to create number lines and teach the children how to find equivalent fractions on a number line. So this top part is 8. and fourths. And the bottom line is fourths. So I had them draw eighths. And then I had them to draw another number line to partition into fourths. And what they found is that these lines fell where some of the eights were. So they realized that the position in which 1/4 was, it was the same position as 2/8. And where 1/2 was, 2/4, which they knew was a half, was the same as 4/8. It was in the same position. So if you are using circular models, this helps students to make the jump to understanding positioning on a number line. And then the last part, 6/8 and 3/4 were in the same position. That is one way you can clear up some misconceptions and make it real simple for your learners. It can be used as an introduction and as a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention. So what we did is took them off the number line, and then at the bottom created equivalent fractions. This is one way you can do that. Also, if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a video on there that talks about equivalent fractions, identifying them on a multiplication chart. That's another way that you can clear up a lot of misconceptions. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'm going to show you the freebie that I am giving away today. It's my Converting Improper Fractions Zebra Cake Challenge. If you're interested in receiving that, definitely jump on the 12 and join the 12 days of giveaway. You have 7 more days of freebies, and I hope that you join, because I do believe as we move towards this test prep in January after the break, you'll be able to fill your toolkit up, or your teaching toolkit up, with some things. So we did fraction fundamentals, and tomorrow I'm going to do decimals, and then on Sunday I'll do percents and order of operations. Let me see. Fractions, yes. And then we'll move on through the week with that. So you want to tune in. Tomorrow I'll be on 6:30, but I'm going to make sure I put it on my calendar to make sure that I don't have any conflicts with my schedule and I have to push it back. So I hope that you all enjoyed these little nuggets that I'm dropping for you all to help you all close those learning gaps and be able to just go to your classroom and fix what needs to be done. And it's not this huge, long, drawn out process. So if you're not on the email list for the 12 days of giveaway, get on the email list. If you liked this, definitely like the video and subscribe to my channel so you can get tips like this throughout the school year. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all tomorrow in my next live stream. Bye-bye.